Hello, welcome back to Watercolor Theory. This is part two and the final of my Casa Bonita painting. I'm going to try to do things a little bit differently in reading some comments and then watching other people's channels for research and development. Um, I've seen on a few channels where they do enjoy the instructor, whatever, the YouTuber, talking about different practices and theories rather than just watching. If you just want to watch, obviously you can just hit mute and just watch it. So I figured I'd talk a little bit about that and then a little bit about um, my reasoning for painting in this method. I'll call it splattering, loose, fast, loose, and wet, whatever you want to say there. So the first thing is with the looseness is a lot of YouTubers say to loosen up, draw the big shapes, um, and or use bigger brushes. My thing is letting go of some control. I mean, with my method of splattering, you do still get, with a little bit of target practice, you can place that pretty well. And then you'll see in this video that, or in the first video, you could see where I was kind of guiding the paint here and there, even though I splattered most of it. So if, you're already familiar with Casa Bonita, you could look at the end of the first video and realize that that's what it was. Again, hey, real quick while I have you here, if you're getting value from the channel, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me grow the channel and it lets me know that I'm helping you grow as an artist. Now back to the video. So if you're familiar with Casa Bonita, you would be able to see it. So it's not total chaos, but it is control and chaos method. Recently, I was watching a video about Pompeii, and that as they're removing, they're still finding new areas of Pompeii, but that isn't what this is about. But as they're unveiling it, they've got all this chaos, and then they're just picking out parts, and then this beautiful thing emerges, and that's kind of what I'm going for here. There's a fellow YouTuber named Paul Ingbritson, and he talks about in oil painting, emerging it from the fog. And so this first wash is my underpainting. And now in this video for part two, I'm going to help it emerge from the fog. And so it's positive and negative painting, darkening the building to make the shadow side stand out, but then I soften that edge and bleed it into the sky. And it's just a lot of push and pull where you're darkening this area to make it come forward, or you might be darkening another area to illuminate the other side. So it varies. Now, granted, with watercolor, we can kind of go lighter, going back in with some gouache, which I do for some of the trim of the building. But for the most part, I don't want to get too bogged down in those kind of details. I believe that a painting is implicit and a illustration is more explicit. So I don't want to be, I don't want to be over explaining it, but I also need people to realize what it is, other than just this pretty pink phallus of a building. So that's one part, and just looking over my notes. So think of that as an underpainting, and it's forcing you to loosen up a certain amount. It's also forcing you to compensate for color shift. So watercolor, the more transparent the color and the more water in that color, the more it will color shift lighter. Opaque colors don't do it quite as much. And my theory is, or my explanation is, as the particles of pigment are woven through the cotton fibers, when it's wet, that fiber becomes kind of transparent. So it's showing all of the color. But when it dries and that water goes away, the, the cotton fiber turns back to closer to white and then lightens it. You do get that depth because you've got layers with the transparent color, but you lose some of its appearance because the light isn't being transmitted too much. You know, the pigment that's way down here, you're not seeing it as the same degree as when it was wet. Hope that explanation is more more of an explanation than a confusion. The next thing is it's also problem solving. I don't it's kind of my own version of a puzzle, I guess. Like I don't do puzzling and things like that, so it's not really something that I do. But this is a problem to solve. It's digging it out, and I don't know if I still have it in my YouTube video description, but most people are defined by their problems. I would rather be defined by my solutions. So this forces you to make some solutions and get creative beyond your own design. You know, you've got to kind of cut in here, and it teaches you some improv skills as well. And then so that's about it. Now I'll start rolling the video again. I'll show a copy of the wet version of the first wash. So right at the end of the previous video, this is what it looked like before it dried. And then here's where the video starts again. And so now what I'm doing is adding in some elements of the building, darkening it up, and then blotting it out, kind of going back and forth with it, just pushing and pulling that color, softening the edges, having lost and found edges. But I'm going into each little shadow area and putting in just some pink, and then I'm letting it sit for a while. Let the edge of it's going to dry from the edges in most of the time. You have the least deposit on your edges, so it'll dry up. And that's why you kind of get that little line, sometimes a little halo effect. But I'm letting that dry, and then now you can see where I'm going into the sky, and I'll have more of a lost and found edge, and it kind of blends in on that sky side. The color palette I've used on this painting, I pre-mixed the colors so that the pink wasn't just a toxic pink, and the blue wasn't this crazy turquoise or whatever blue, and yellow, etc. So by dialing those colors back and having them be a little less vibrant and overly saturated, now when I put in more saturated colors, they'll pop out. So whereas in the past I just kind of I did still mix, but I didn't tone them down very much. And usually when I mix three colors, so I've got the primaries, but the yellow will have some of the red and maybe even some of the blue, and the blue and the red definitely have some of the yellow in them. So they all really mix well together. And if you had a red or a blue that wasn't cooperative with the other colors, it would show in that mixing process. Like in Danthrone Blue, I love that color. It's very close. I was going to say very close to a neutral, but it doesn't seem to be very green. It doesn't seem to be very purple, but it doesn't really mix the greatest range of different colors. So that isn't one that I usually include. And sometimes, I'll put in a fourth, like I'll have two blues or two reds so that I'm covering a broader range. But I'm very happy with the way the initial wash came out. And now I'm cutting around parts of the building, illuminating. There's like a crest on it. And then there are some white areas that I'm kind of painting around that I will then later go in with some white to clean them up. But for uh, for now, I'm just cutting in around them. Um, the part that I'm on right now, um, I'm kind of highlighting the crown molding outside the building, and then I'm lifting it. Went in way too intense, but I'm flooding it with color and then lifting it out in some areas. Um, so it's still interpretive. It's still um, a lot of implied rather than fully expressed color. It leaves a lot to the imagination. That sky is still uh, very vibrant, but encapsulating of that building. Now I'm down into the building. I'm negative painting around the fountain that sits in the front and putting in figures. This is the one area where I know for my personal growth, I need to really work on figures and giving, uh, implying a little bit more outside of the focal point. I mean, the atmosphere and the building itself are the focal point, but up around that crest and the tower um, is where the focal point is. Down on the bottom is very secondary, but in the video you can see I have a woman sitting on the fountain. She's in negative painted right now, and it looks like she's reading a book or something, and there are these other ghostly figures kind of in the background. But by the time I got done, I had put in so much layering in different colors, and I'll obviously be showing that throughout the video process. But oh, and here you can see I've got my squirrel mop brush, and I've frayed it out so it's not coming to a point. So it's like opened up like a flower. I'm using that to help with the trees. Um, but anyway, going back to um, the the painting, it's really, I mean, I know where the characters are because I painted it, and you might see them now, but I doubt that anybody prior to this was like, oh, look at those people, look at that lady reading a book or anything like that. And that is kind of what it's like in front of the place while you're waiting to get in to Casa Bonita. It is a bit of a just a hangout for people. It's I think a little more of an experience though. Like when you go to Red Lobster, you're just kind of sitting in the lobby waiting to be called. But here you're outdoors. It's beautiful. The on this particular day, the photo was taken in June. Just a beautiful day that a year ago from right now is when I went there, and so it's definitely an experience. So when I say this lady's reading a book, it might make it kind of downplays the place a little bit, but hey, we all dance to a beat of our own drum, I guess. Now I'm putting in some more of that sky, and that is, I think, using an indanthrine blue, and then I was mixing it with some other color to kind of cut it back a little bit. That is one of my favorite blues, but it's uh, my favorite because of it of the color itself, not necessarily again for its mixability. So now just going back and forth, and on the other side of the building, adding in some of that indanthrine blue, and in the part of the tower where you can see all the way through it. You want that continuity of color. So I've done that, and putting in just kind of blending in the sky to the tree line. And again, with this paint being wet, you've got to go a little bit darker than what you think. Now I'm putting in the character on the very tippy top of the tower. It's not Montezuma. I'm not sure. I can't remember his name. I did look it up. Um, and then just adding in some shadows to the tower itself. Just trying to get in those finishing touches and then letting everything dry before going in with gouache. And this is the first painting that I really went in with gouache as far as um, I want to say it was primarily whites. I don't think I used it. I might have used mixed in a little bit of a yellow to kind of tame that the gouache a little bit, but I don't want to get too heavily into gouache, but I don't like masking fluid. I think if I was doing a very large area, I mean, I've done that before and I've just taped it off. So um, I think that there is a place for masking fluid, but um, I have had success with it. But the last time I did try to use it, I peeled it up a little too early and it ripped up a spot right in the middle of a painting. So, and I still haven't finished that painting. I painted in something in acrylic over it to kind of patch it. And that's kind of going to be a side project down the road because I do kind of want to mix my watercolor into plein air, maybe with some acrylics, but that's a totally different story. So now in the video, I'm adding in a little bit of a toned down violet to the side of the tower and putting in just little areas that would be in shadow, trying to also sculpt out some of the molding, like just drawing the shadow side. And when I drew those pieces of molding that go around, I literally only did the pencil line for the shadow side of that. And then I know that the other, so I know to draw or paint on, that on the right side, the lower right side, because that's, so if there's a drop shadow or cast shadow, um, I put that in. And then I just cut around it to the left and above that for the gouache, which I'm putting in right now. The gouache that I used on this was a zinc white, and I had to go over it quite a few times. I thought that that was going to be enough, but I either didn't load my brush enough or it's a Holbein gouache, so I know it's a good quality. So I did get a titanium white, which is a little bit cooler. So I would, that's where I would add stuff in. But that was in a later painting. That would be, whoops, over here. This is the Stanley Hotel. So that's got a lot of gouache in the building. The rest of the painting doesn't have any. This bison behind me, um, that's a work in progress, and I'll probably use a little bit of gouache. Some of the yellows in it have, or I've already added in a little bit of yellow gouache, and then that farm scene, there isn't any gouache. No, there isn't any gouache in that. That one came out a little too. Um, my wife loves it. It's just a little bit off to me, but I'm still. I learned a lot working on that before going into the bison. I do enjoy this color palette on the bison a lot more than the one over here. So, it's a learning experience. And so I'm coming towards the end of the video. I again, I'm hoping that talking, about the painting at hand and about philosophy and just random thoughts help some people watch a little bit more because maybe not hearing anything. I mean, I can't listen to a podcast I have to watch a podcast. I like to see that human interaction. And maybe on these videos, maybe some people uh, haven't continued to tune in because it was just music, and I get that. So it's different for everybody. So if you're like me and you get tired of hearing me ramble, just put it on mute, I guess. And if you like hearing, please share this video or share this channel with a friend. Like if you would please like that lets other people know that other people that have your interests know about this channel. And then if you haven't yet subscribed, most people that are watching are not subscribed as of yet. And I've mentioned this in other videos, but I will mention it again. My ultimate goal is to be to get to over 1,000 subscribers and over 4,000 watch hours. That's where somebody can get monetized on YouTube. So when you subscribe, you're not getting charged anything. But then as this channel grows, once I get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, then I can be monetized. Then I can do live events. Then I can have, you know, some kind of, tip jar or whatever. And I know that for some people, talking about money makes it awkward. I'm just trying to make a living here. Looking for something to supplement my income. And by no means, having 1,000 subscribers again isn't going to cost you anything. And I'm not going to have a yacht. So I'm not saying that you would begrudge me that, but, just saying that there is definitely more than just making the videos. I mean, there is a long term, I would like to be able to have enough money through YouTube where I could, travel. Once traveling becomes something that I can do physically. Right now, I take care of a loved one, so I'm unable to travel. So enough about that for today. Subscribing would really help in the long haul. So thanks again for watching, and I've got a few videos in queue of things I've done and need to finish the videos. I just love painting so much that I have to kind of force myself to make the videos. So stay tuned. Next week, maybe I'll do two again. This week, I decided to do part one and part two of Casa Bonita. So thank you very much, and adios.